Hi, Nolan Johnson here for iConnect 007. I am delighted to be sitting here at the table to have a cybersecurity roundtable conversation with three great experts. Let me introduce them. We have Ali Prabrai, who is the CEO at ecfirst. Over here is Devesh Patel. He is the CEO at MX2 Technologies. And Watanabe Hiroyaki from NEC.
Yes.
Fantastic. So, you gentlemen have really got a good handle on what's happening with regard to cybersecurity and where we are in the electronics manufacturing industry. So this is going to be a lot of fun. Why don't we start with understanding where organizations are exposed today? I mean, are we in good shape, or is this an emerging emergency?
So the current situation is a very bad, go to the bad status. So AI technology is make the phishing mail is quite well. So especially the local language is a much better phishing mail.
Right.
So, but it is unclear to the increasing the volume. But the AI technology can providing the good tool for the criminals, so they can much easier to attack. So last year, the double size or triple size of the volume is coming from the attacker side. So it is a very riskful situations. And so we need to adapt to that trend.
Ali, what's your take?
We are at risk. I think small, medium businesses are at risk. We've got to start contextualizing cyber security risk in terms of business risk. What's the risk to the organization? The crown jewel increasingly for businesses and organizations, small, medium, is data. And that data, what was just said, is very vulnerable. We don't know what those vulnerabilities are. We need to find out what those vulnerabilities are. Very important to establish a baseline. But I think at the end of the day, senior leadership inside organizations has to establish credibility in terms of just understanding. The knowledge acquisition piece of it is very important before you do anything. Just understanding what is the risk to my organization, what is the risk to my data.
Devesh?
Yeah, and to support both those thoughts there, I think that it needs to be, there needs to be a bigger understanding and awareness at all levels of an organization. So whether it's the business leadership that's putting together a risk profile of what the company can bear, and with what Watanabe-san had said also is that there's lower risk in terms of phishing and that sort of thing that happens at a lower level. And that's why I think that awareness has to be at all levels of an organization in order for any organization to be successfly implementing a cybersecurity program.
Well, we are talking about customer data, design data, what you're building on the shop floor, but then you have business data and process data and human resources data and sales data and your lists, all of this very valuable information that could be exposed. It is every department in your business that you need to pay attention to. When it comes to cybersecurity right now, especially in our industry, where are companies seeing most at risk of loss of control?
Most risk?
Most risk for losing control. Yeah.
Very difficult question. So huge risks.
Everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
So up and down the supply chain then, as you're working not only within your own company, that there's a priority to making sure that you get your own data secure. But we also increasingly have supply chain connections. We have connections to different companies. Is that a place where we're at risk as well?
So I'd like to take the extreme view. So honestly say the security risk is continually remaining. So but on the other hand, data sharing is an extremely good opportunity to the business doing well.
There is that.
So
That's true.
I think we should take the value of the business first. So very limited protection is good enough. Reason why is the current security trend is defense, from defense to the resilience. So which means that we need to preparing something happening in the future, and then we have to prepare to the action.
Okay.
So from this point of view, we already prepared the resilience. That means we should focusing on the benefit of the sharing the data. So that is my
Okay.
little extreme view.
Okay, so with that, let me change the question just a little bit. If we pay attention to making sure that we keep our house in order and make sure our data in-house is secure and well protected, do we need to worry about transferring up and down the supply chain?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Because I've seen it in organizations where, the cybersecurity program is in place, everything, they're following policies, procedures, they're doing all the things correctly. As soon as it leaves their organization, we don't know where it ends up. So this is why we have CMMC, because there is that, responsibility up and down the supply chain, and file sharing, whatever it may be, it has to be accounted for. It has to be where the next organization you're sending information to, you have to know that they're adhering to certain levels of standards and not just what was, because the landscape for threats and vulnerabilities is a lot different today than it was 6 months ago, if you will. It's not the same. Every day it's evolving.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that the business partners that you continually transact with, that they're in the same frame of mind from a security standpoint as you are, if not better, right? And that's why we have CMMC.
Ali, we were talking earlier and you were mentioning that there's a desperate need for a baseline of security across all companies. That sort of follows from what's happening with CMMC. Have I got that right?
Yes, I think that's a good way to frame it, in the sense that just a couple of points. One is security is only as strong as your weakest link. And the comment and the question that you are asking and the response is that we've got to understand every business today. We live in a world that is flat and getting flatter. We are going to be working with other businesses. When we are sharing our data and our information with other businesses, we've got to have the confidence that they are protecting it as we would be protecting it, which is why the comment about CMMC, the Cybersecurity Maturity Model certification, it's all about resilience in the supply chain. And the supply chain is global, but the impact is local. So we've got to make sure that we are doing the basic steps, the initial steps, knowledge acquisition, as well as establishing a baseline. It's just like going to the doctor and getting your physical done annually. If you don't make that visit, you don't know what may be going wrong in your human body. The same thing we've got to think about the digital organization. And more of the manufacturers are digital. Even more valuable than maybe the equipment, maybe the data, but we're not protecting it.
Mm-hmm.
Where should a company start?
I think the first step is perform a comprehensive risk assessment. And the next question is, because you want to get that baseline set, I want to know what are my vulnerabilities. I may not have the money, I may not have the budget to fix all those problems, but at least want to know, do I have areas that I've got to address? And the next follow-up to that is, what framework should I use? Should I use CMMC? Should I use the NIST body of work? Should I use ISO? Whatever those might be. But you got to adopt a framework, and this is something that will take not days, not weeks to what we've heard already, but months and years of effort. So those small initial steps are very important steps.
That choice right there, what model should I use? What should I follow as my method, is a huge question. And that's a hard one to answer. It sets up everything for you as far as where you go. How do you get that question answered? I could see why certain companies might be saying, I'm going to hold off because I have no idea where to start.
So may I say?
Absolutely.
So that CMMC is a good framework and good start to the assessment. themselves. So, however, it is still difficult for the small, medium-sized company and who does not have a security engineer, who does not have a IT engineer. So, from their point of view, sharpen the scope is very important. So IPC 1792 is focusing on early detection and early notifications. So that is directly connected to the resilience of the business continuity, disaster recoveries. So which means the customers' BCDR benefit is directly connected to the early detection and early notification. So which means customer may pay that values. So small, medium-sized company can understand. So we may get the money. So sharpening the focus, so it bring the value in the surface. So that is a good first step to focusing on sharpening the focus on the area of the BCDR related part.
Tell me a little bit more about how IPC 1792 and CMMC work together.
Yeah, CMMC is a good framework, entire framework, and that is a goal and top tier solution now.
Yeah.
So, but the starting period is need to the first step. So lowering the barriers to make the first steps. So that is IPC 1792.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that following CMMC as an overall goal, as a path makes sense, and initial steps are 1792. That's a standard to start paying attention to right now.
Yes.
Even if you're a small company.
And also the IPC 1792 consists of the preparation part and delivery, the notification part. So, but the first step one, is quite important. So everybody can do the step one.
Okay, can I add to that?
Sure.
CMMC, everybody knows it as the end-all solution, and that's something that everybody should march to. But CMMC is actually certifying that you've implemented NIST 800-171. So I want to make that distinction. And yes, CMMC is a framework, but the official certification is what you get, right? The CMMC, that an assessor like Mr. Pabrai's company goes in and says, yeah, we've seen that you've implemented successfully NIST 800-171. Now, if a company wanted to get started, 1792 is certainly one way, but the other is look at NIST documentation.
Yeah.
NIST 800 series, 171, 800-37, all these different publications that are out there will tell you what risk assessment is about, will tell you how to technically implement the controls for cybersecurity in NIST 800-171. Those are all, they have assessment guides that give really good, clear understanding of what each assessment objective is about.
Okay,
And it's in plain English.
starts to sound like we're pulling back the curtain and showing where to really get started.
Yeah.
NIST and IPC.
1792.
Put those two together. That's a very practical way to start looking at what you need to scope out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think another way to frame the conversation is 1792, you can think of it as very tactical, very focused on incident response, detection.
Yes.
If you don't know an incident has occurred, that's a big problem.
Right.
You want to find out about it. That's why it's very important. CMMC provides an overall framework. 1792 is a component of that. So I think you can look at both at the same time. It's almost like with CMMC, it's a marathon that you got to plan for. You're going to be running on it for some time. And these are critical steps, 1792 and others, that you can implement. And I think one more thing I just wanted to mention is that within CMMC itself, there's an area, because CMMC consists of 14 domains, 110 controls, 320 surgically defined assessment objectives. That 320 is a magic number. Inclusive in that is the area of incident response and detection that ties in exactly to 17. So it's not like you may be going down that path and it's not apples and oranges. you're addressing things in a consistent manner.
But what I would say to all of this is that organizations have to put some controls in place. You may not get 100% of all the CMMC controls in place, but not having any in place is a big problem. And that's where vulnerabilities and risks and threats are huge to our industry. And not having any protection and thinking, oh, I have a firewall, I'm safe. That's a big no-no.
How much time do our listeners have to start implementing CMMC into their business operations?
I think it should have started a while ago. They, given that the November 10th date of 2025 has come and gone, now this November is the actual enforcement where you'll start seeing it in contracts. Actually, some contracts have already got CMMC 7021, DFAR 7021 mentioned in there. DFAR 7012 has always been there, way before CMMC was even around, right? If you don't, and most organizations didn't follow DFAR 7012. That's why all this is coming about. That's why we have CMMC. So to implement it, you have to take a lot of time, careful planning, consideration of the impact to the business operationally, financially, understanding that your entire workforce needs to be in line. Even if you have a small enclave built, the entire organization needs to be aware from a security standpoint.
Yeah.
Because even though they may not be part of a CMMC enclave, they still have to be aware of what emails they're receiving, what emails they're sending, who are they sending it to, and that's just the basics of it. I'm not getting into anything more than that, but just the basics. So awareness has to be there, and continuous training has to be there as a very bare minimum. And I'm not even talking about network security or anything of that sort.
Yeah.
The biggest threat to any organization is us.
So awareness is very important. So this is the first step of the moving forward. So, but the awareness, smart company already knowing the many risks and the importance of the data. So at that time, the CMMC is a good approach. So, but some of the small company, so executives are not aware these risks yet. At that time, the IPC 1792 is a good step, and there is no waste. The same direction. So just focusing the specific area. So, and also we need to understand who paid the money, and this is an endless fighting with the criminals. So never ended. So which means that continually investing in improvement. So we need to design from the executive views. So this business, how much pay? And currently pay this, but the next year. So that kind of the strategy is very important. From this point of view, the step by step, do not achieve the final goal just one step. So the CMMC is something like a goal, but the small medium-sized company is important, is aware in the first step. So I think there are many ways to the starting the moving forward. So, but the select by the executive knowledge and awareness and companies' business volumes. So each factory, the different situation. So take a best choice and awareing that these risks is increasing and moving forward. That is an important part of the security countermeasures.
I'm going to pick up that, Ali. C-suite executives working at a smallish company, a lot of ambiguity around this. It really looks like it's money they have to spend out of their razor-thin margins in order to do something that gets them compliance. They don't necessarily see immediately what the benefit is to them. How does that increase their sales? It just looks like a cost of doing business, extra money they have to spend just to keep the doors open. convince me otherwise?
Yeah, that's a really good question, is because the margins are razor thin. But I think the crown jewels of business today compared to what it may have been in the past is data. And we cannot leave that data naked, open to attacks, open to vulnerabilities. So yes, there is a cost to protect and secure that data, but we don't need military grade security. We need, I think, what I would refer to in 3 words: reasonable and appropriate, to appropriately protect that data. And what we've heard is, first of all, making sure we have the knowledge of what are the options out there, what are the opportunities. Take small steps to achieve small successes and then build on that. And another thing that I think you had asked earlier as well, Nolan, was that the time frame. It normally takes 2 to 3, maybe 4 quarters, consecutive quarters. You can't start, stop. You got to make sure you build some momentum. But it takes about 2 to 4 quarters to establish the foundation. And then the actual assessment for example, CMMC may take another quarter. So it is possible. We should not think of it as the cost that is insurmountable. I think if we take small steps, achieve small successes, achieve the success with 1792, implement that, I think those give confidence. And at the end of the day, it comes down to one word: credibility. Do we have a credible program in place? We don't need to. There's no organization that's going to be 100% secure. We're always going to have risk. We got to balance that cost versus investment to make sure that we're protecting that data. That data cannot be left naked, which is how it is right now.
Yeah, basically, what's the risk appetite?
Devesh, to that, the risk appetite and talking to the C-suite, helping them understand where this fits. Especially now, we're talking about 5 quarters to get from start to certification, and enforcement is going to start happening in 2 quarters. There is a 3-quarter risk for some of these companies in there who may have their top line affected. Is that true?
Yes.
This is something where you could actually lose business at the front end.
Actually, I've heard of cases where, I'll just say one of the big primes, and this was basically, I heard this from a fellow managed service provider that basically said that a big prime came into their customer's organization, basically said, tell us where you are in your CMMC journey. And the customer responded, said, we haven't started, but we're about to start now. They said, don't bother, we're pulling the contracts. And the reason why I know about this story is because the MSP was in sort of in a frantic, like, now what do I do, right? And we've heard of these things. It's not new that the primes are pulling contracts or saying, you're out of time. November 10th or 9th is coming around in 2 quarters and you haven't started. It is not easy. I'll tell you, I've done implementations where it takes a small company to implement at least a year. And I'm talking, less than 20 people organization or part of an enclave specific to CMMC. It takes at least a year. And the 1 quarter that it does take from an assessment standpoint is to see, are you ready for an assessment? Because if it's a go, no go, it makes a huge difference. And I'm sure Mr. Fabrai can tell you that he's, seen a lot of false starts in some of the assessments that they've recently encountered. So more than anything, Cyber AB has reported that the biggest reasons why there's been such a low number of CMMC certified companies is they never got through phase 1. And why is that? Because they're not ready. They're not ready.
All right, let's wrap this up with a word of advice, call to action from each of you for our listeners. Start with you, Ali.
Start small, gain the knowledge, and understand that CMMC framework has been through Trump 1, Biden, Trump 2. So there's stability in terms of politically with that framework. It's built on the NIST body of work, so that gives you more confidence. And I think if you marry the requirements in 1792, that's a tactical success. and it fits into the CMMC incident response, I think you're laying the foundation. The next point I would just say very quickly, it can unlock new opportunities that businesses may not have had before. So for the C-suite, the fact that you're CMMC certified now could position you for contracts that you could not be bidding on otherwise.
Watanabe-san, final words.
Oh.
Your
So-
words, your advice.
Yes. For the small medium-sized company, so executive understanding is very, very important. So the IPC 1792 team is preparing the brochure to deliver for the executives. So they try to make an agreement from the executives. That is the first step. And the second step, so executive, do it. So please look at the 1792 and try it. So I recommended the first step is educating the executive first.
Great. Dinesh.
Yeah, to support both these thoughts, I would say start somewhere in terms of awareness, and then realize what tools you have in your toolbox from a vulnerability standpoint. You have to know what's in your environment, what you're vulnerable to, and from that you can really do a proper risk assessment. So that'll give leadership what they need to understand from a security standpoint, and that'll be an eye-opener to how exposed they really are. And so I would say at least start in those two areas.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, thank you for taking the time. This
Thank
has
you.
been very insightful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great conversation.
Yeah, great.
Here for iConnect 007, I'm Nolan Johnson. Thanks for watching.